Mr. Director, could you count me in, please?
Yes. 3, 2, 1, shoot.
Hi. Oh. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Before I get started, can we just acknowledge the blooming that has happened between the last time I saw you guys and now? I'm so excited about this because I've been struggling with this peace lily for like the longest time, and she's actually blooming. And not only that, but she has 2 new leaves sprouting out, and I'm super excited about that. All right, what are we talking about today? Notes. So on to today's topic. Have you or anyone you know has ever said the words, "I'm not flexible enough for yoga"? This is probably one of the most common things that us yoga teachers hear from people who are either like interested in yoga but they haven't done a class yet, or they have done like maybe one class and they just decided like, maybe yoga isn't for me. Today's video, I'm just gonna break down the truth behind that. Like, is it really true that you are not flexible enough to do yoga? And also, what leads us to believe things like that? Before we get started, if you are new here, my name is Claire. I'm a private yoga instructor. And if you are interested in any more videos like these about yoga, fitness, freelancing tips, or just ways to elevate your lifestyle, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe so that you can get more of these posts in the future. When it comes to yoga, it's very easy to think that you have to be flexible or a certain body type in order to do it. But that's not true. In fact, yoga is for everybody. It doesn't matter how stiff you are. It doesn't matter how strong you are. It doesn't matter if you have injuries or if you're missing a limb. Yoga is for everybody. And there's something in a yoga practice that is accessible to every single type of person, body type, and lifestyle. Now, when it comes to people who are a beginner yoga and you're going into your class, it's actually better for you to start off the class a little bit stiffer than being flexible, which is the total opposite of what people think. And in my last video, I talked a little bit about how and why people tend to be more flexible than others. And it's because of the amount of collagen versus the amount of elastin in your body. So if you have more collagen in your body, you tend to be a little bit more stiff. You're definitely not naturally more flexible than like the average person. And that's perfectly okay. It's actually so much safer for you to practice yoga going in stiff, because in a yoga practice, you are going to develop your flexibility anyways. And it's more important for you to have that muscular support to help protect your joints, like your elbows, your wrists, especially your knees, which is not something that you're going to naturally have if you are more flexible. Now, if you're like me and you start off naturally just like more flexible and you're going into yoga, what happens when you go into a pose like triangle pose is that you'll tend to dump all of your weight onto your joint. In this case, in triangle pose, you're going to dump your weight all in your front knee. And you are not utilizing the surrounding muscles, which needs to like strengthen in order to help support that knee. And that can cause like injuries later on in the future if you do this regularly enough. You can develop pain in your joints. You can develop tears and damage to your actual joint, and also create other pains in your body in the long run. In fact, actually the easiest clients for me to work with, they tend to be a lot stiffer, versus the most difficult clients that I've worked with actually are super flexible and hypermobile, because they have to really learn how to utilize their muscular strength in order to have a safe and healthy practice. So if that's true, then why do people believe that they have to be flexible in order to do yoga? There are 2 main reasons why that is. And the first one is mainly on the whole marketing and commercialization of yoga in correlation to people's own self-doubts and their beliefs. So in the last 20 years, the way yoga has been marketed and commercialized, it has been centered mostly around very thin, athletic, acrobatic, Caucasian women. And it's only in the last maybe few years when we started to see a little bit more diversity in the marketing of yoga. But that is a completely different topic that we will address another time. When you go on places like Instagram or Facebook, or if you just look on any yoga company's website, most of the time what you are going to see is exactly what I just said. Someone who's like very thin, super fit, doing very athletic or acrobatic yoga moves like the splits on their hands or something like that. And that to most people is not really an accessible image. It's very important for marketing because, you know, when it comes to marketing, you want to show people like what they can achieve, something that's aspirational and results driven, because that's what inspires a lot of people. But what it also does is that it makes a lot of people feel alienated and excluded as well. And so a lot of times what happens, if you go on Instagram, you look up yoga, you see all these people doing like intense back bends, handstands with splits in the airs, or that and a back bend at the same time. And like you immediately think that that is what yoga is. And that is also completely false. Like I can say from like my own personal experience as a yoga teacher that most of my students that come to my classes or have private classes with me cannot even touch their toes. They cannot touch their toes. They're usually like around middle age, maybe a little bit older, maybe a little bit younger, have super hectic lifestyles to the point where they can only like cut out like an hour of their day a week maybe to devote to fitness. Whereas the models that you see on Instagram, that you see in commercials and in ads, they all have like devoted a lot of their life to the practice that allows them to have the body that they do and to achieve like the crazy abilities that they can do with their bodies. And that's not always the reality for most regular people. So I just want you guys to know, like, not to see these images and think that you have to be that already to already go into your first yoga class. We all start somewhere. We all start at our ground zero, wherever that is for us in our lives. And it's all about practice and progression. And honestly, the core purpose of yoga is not to achieve perfection. It's not to achieve this ideal of anything. It's to create consciousness and awareness in our lives and also build a positive relationship with ourselves and with the world around us. So that's the first reason. The second reason is more solely based on real life experience. Let's say that you have tried a yoga class before and you walked away saying that this isn't for you because of how stiff you are. You find that you couldn't really keep up with the pace of the class. I know that is completely rooted in truth, because that does actually happen. There are people who, that yoga class is just simply not for. It doesn't mean that yoga isn't for you. It just means that you need to find a different class. You have a lot of different types of yoga asana practices, and asana means poses, pretty much. And most of the time in the US especially, if you go into a yoga class, chances are it's either a power yoga class or a vinyasa class, which essentially means it's fast paced. It's what we call one breath to one movement. So it would be like inhale, you reach your arms up, exhale, you bring your hands to your heart. So it goes really, really fast. And that's just the way that type of yoga is and the way that yoga moves. If you're someone who's super, super stiff, you need something that moves a lot slower and helps you to understand alignment and allows you to hold the poses longer. So not only does it give you enough time to go from, let's say, a downward dog to a runner's lunge, but it also allows you to hold the stretches and the poses longer so that you can actually get the real benefit out of it versus like doing something that is more like a HIIT or cardio version of yoga. So what I would suggest to those of you who experience this, feel like you're way too tight for yoga, you can try a Bikram yoga class where the room is really hot, so it's going to naturally loosen up your muscles and you get to hold the poses a little bit longer than your typical vinyasa class. Or what I would suggest the most, other than a hot yoga class, is find a Hatha or Iyengar yoga class, because those classes are specifically designed for you to hold the poses for a much longer period of time, which gives you enough time to go from one place to another without feeling like you need to rush and for you to actually practice your alignment, because your body is going to be different from your neighbors, it's going to be different from mine, it's going to be different from everyone else in the room. So don't worry about looking like them. Instead, use this practice to study your body and see what feels right for you. Okay, so now you know the truth. Leave a comment below letting me know whether or not any of these two reasons apply to you, or if there's another reason why you thought that you're not flexible enough for yoga. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Bye.